Around the late 1430s, a German man named Johannes Gutenberg built the first movable type printing press. And it revolutionized the world at that time. Never before in the history of mankind had so much information been made available to people. Before this time, those who were very wealthy were able to afford books or parchment, something in which they had in their home. But the average man could not afford these things, nor were they even available to him. But the printing press opened the door for mass production of books, pamphlets, newspapers, and all of these things were able to get into the hands of people in Europe at that time. And one of the things I think people don't realize or understand is the original intent of Gutenberg himself. And that is, he created the printing press in order to publish the Word of God so that all people could have a copy of the Holy Scriptures in their hand. The invention of the printing press really opened up the world. It sparked a period of history known as the Renaissance. In fact, the word Renaissance is the French word that means rebirth. And in Europe at that time, they experienced a rebirth of culture, science, education, exploration, and even a rebirth in religion. This new access to information inspired people to learn and to educate themselves. And with this learning came a great desire to advance, to explore. And if you study that period of history, you'll see that many of these things took place. There was an advancement in culture. Many of the wonderful cultural advancements took place during the Renaissance of paintings and art and all types of books and education and writing. We also see that there were advancements in science, medicine. These things were developing at a rapid rate. Education started to advance. People started to learn how to read and write and studied mathematics and sciences and history, and all of these things came about. Exploration took off. They set sail to new worlds and were looking for other places, exploring new lands, and much of the Americas and South America and other places were found by those who set sail and explored. This time in history also brought about a renaissance in religion. It birthed what we often refer to as the Protestant Reformation, where people broke away from the Roman Catholic Church and then new religions began to be born. It was a time of great learning. It was a great time of advancement in mankind. And since the time or the period of the Renaissance, mankind has been creating and producing some amazing things. I mean, you think about it today. Man is able to send a rocket into outer space. People have landed on the moon and explored the moon. Other rockets and satellites have gone even further, and we're able to see stars and planets and places that we had no clue existed before the advancement of this technology. We have advancement in medicine today. Many of the medicines and treatments that we have extended man's lives. Education, technology, all of these things have benefited man's life. And some of these inventions and developments in education and technology have greatly benefited the world, but we also realize that many of them have brought about great harm to people. And I think a good example of that would be the internet. The internet has both been a wonderful advancement and tool for mankind, but it has also been a great danger and a destructive nature in the lives of many people today. That there are things that we can go to and learn and just automatically now we can have so much information before us But not all that information is beneficial, and not all those things are helpful. Probably the greatest invention since the printing press has been that of the internet. Nothing has so radically shaped and changed culture, media, business, entertainment, and even communication as the internet has. And as long as we have a connection to the internet, with just a few clicks or taps on our screen, a world of information appears before our very eyes. We can learn things, see things that we have never known even existed. You can literally find information on any topic or subject that you want on the internet. You can read articles and research papers and watch videos on everything from brain surgery to how to cook a certain meal or explore different worlds and cultures. And it's all right there. And it almost seems like there is no limit to the internet today. That you could spend hours and hours and hours just looking at different papers and research and videos, and you can engage with people and learn things, languages, and any study that there is. And this is radically changing the world in which we are living in. And this has been going on for some time now, but it is only intensifying. That more and more mankind is dependent upon the internet. That technology is driving our economy. It is driving our education. In fact, the world in which we're living now, many of our children around the world are now being educated not in classrooms, but on the internet. That many of the economic growth that is exploding in our world is centered on the internet. People are working at home now. They don't even have to go to a job site, all because of the advancement of the internet. And no doubt the internet has greatly influenced and benefited the lives of people around the world. But I think what we also need to understand is that there is a dark side. There is a dark side to the internet. Now, besides the internet eating up a lot of our time by web surfing, of just sitting there and clicking on one site after another and just spending a lot of time looking at things that really we're not interested in, or just watching videos because they're there, or considering the news that's going on. I mean, it eats up a lot of our time, and we can say that's a negative aspect to the internet. Or we can even bring this out, that the internet has made us lazy. Instead of learning how to think for ourselves or learning how to study properly, we have this idea, this mindset today, I'll just Google it. If I don't know something, I'll Google it. And it's funny to watch people today that even in some things that should be just basic and automatic to figure out in our own mind, people will run to the internet. Well, what is 2 plus 2? Well, let's just Google that and we'll find the answer instead of using our mind to bring about the right conclusion and the answer for it. So certainly we could say that those things are a negative and a setback in human development and growth. That we waste a lot of time, we become more and more lazy and dependent upon it. But that's not really what I'm talking about when I talk about the dark side of the internet. See, with those things that are good comes an evil. And that's true in many things in life. There are a lot of things that are good and they're beneficial and they're helpful and they advance our lives and they make our lives easier, but they also come with an evil and a wickedness attached to them. And I think the internet certainly falls under that category, that with all the benefit that it brings, there is a great evil. Now, maybe you're familiar with the fact that every generation has been labeled. You go back and we talk about the baby boomer generation. And if you're over the age of 60, then you fall under that label. You're part of the baby boomer generation. And in the baby boomer generation, they were first introduced to the computer. Now, the computer in that generation is very different from the computers that we have today. They didn't have computers that they could hold in their hand, or tablets, or even laptops, or those things. They were very slow, they were very big, and they were also very expensive, and so very few people had them. But the computer was developed in the baby boomer generation. The next generation is Generation X. And if you're in your 50s or 40s, you are in that generation. I just barely make it into Generation X, as I'm in my early 40s now. And I remember growing up that my parents had a computer and there was internet. This just started to develop in my generation there, but it was very slow. You may remember dial-up. You'd hear that sound, and it could take several minutes for you to get internet access. And so often it was more of a problem than it was a blessing. And I was thinking back on this, that growing up, I spent a little bit of time on the computer. I wrote certain papers on there, but really the computer and the internet was not dominant in my generation. I didn't have an email. I didn't search things on Google. Many of these things are developing in Generation X. But then the next generation are what we call millennials. And those are people that are in their 30s today. And the millennials became more and more dependent upon the internet, and certain things started to open up like Facebook and social sites. And it was in this generation that people really were drawn and focused on the internet and the things that it could do. And technology began to advance. But then the next generation, which are the age groups of 20 to the age 8, are referred to as Generation Z. And certainly in this generation, there was a greater dependence upon technology. There was more of a drawing to what the internet could provide. And now we've entered into a new generation, and any child under the age of 8 is considered to be Generation Alpha. You say, well, why are you bringing out all of these generational labels? Well, what I'm showing you is that in our lifetime, there has been a major change, that the baby boomers did not depend upon technology. Many of them, they looked at it and they were afraid of it, or as way out of what they were comfortable. And I know many people even today that are in that generation that just they have no interest in computers, the internet. That's just not even in their focus. But as time went on, in every generation, dependence upon technology, the internet, became more and more. In fact, it is said of Generation Z and Generation Alpha that these two generations, from those that are in their 20s all the way down to those who are being born today, are absolutely dependent upon technology, and that technology is connected with the internet. In fact, they don't even know how to function without those things in their life. Here are some interesting statistics for you to consider, especially when it comes to our children and how dependent our children have become upon technology and the internet. Did you know that the average child will spend 44 hours a week in front of a digital screen? Whether it be a computer screen, a tablet, their phone, the television set, 44 hours of their week is spent looking at something through a digital screen. Did you know that 23% of teens have reported that they feel addicted to video games? That they will literally spend hours and hours playing video games, Call of Duty, Candy Crush, other games that are always advancing there, and they feel like they are addicted to those games, that they cannot say no to it. I know young people that will go on video game binges. They will spend 2 or 3 days not sleeping or eating, and they will be involved in playing a video game for up to 72 hours straight. That is an addiction. Did you know that 39% of children under the age of 4 are allowed to go online? Parents hand them their cell phone, their tablet, and this child is not being monitored. It's not the parents sitting there and going through it with them, but they themselves have access to the entire internet under the age of 4. I remember a while back I was getting my car washed and I was sitting there at the bench and I was looking at a few things on my phone, and a little girl came and sat next to me, and she was probably 4 or 5 years of age. She was immediately fascinated with my phone. And she pointed to it and she said, "Can I have that?" I said, "Well, you're welcome to borrow it. What do you want it for?" And she took my phone, and without any guidance or any instruction, she immediately went to YouTube and found the video that she wanted to watch. And what I realized at that moment is that this 4 or 5-year-old girl was more advanced in her knowledge of technology and the operation of the internet than I was. She knew what to do. Now you may say, well, what's the problem with that? I mean, that's the way our world is going, and our children need to know how to use the computer and know how to access the internet and all those things. Yes, that may be good, but remember this: with the good comes the evil. And our children have not developed enough in their character, nor are they disciplined enough to discern what is right and what is wrong. That is why, as parents, we are given the responsibility to teach them. And a child that is 4 years old does not have the knowledge as what is right and what is wrong. And parents, I want to remind you, the internet, yes, it can be a wonderful education tool, and it can be a great source for proper and wholesome education. My daughter is allowed some time on the internet, and there are things that she has learned from that, and it is beneficial. But I want you as parents to understand this, that on the internet there are many dangers. And we need to be aware of what is lurking in the darkness there. And many of the things that used to be in the shadows are now coming right out into the light, and they are being promoted. They are being portrayed before our children day and night. And as they spend hour after hour after hour, there are things that are coming through their eye gate. There are things that are shaping their mind. There are things that are captivating their heart that are not good, that are not wholesome. And the internet, in many ways, is programming them to think and behave in a way that will be destructive in their life. Now, I don't know what you think about this, and I'm not trying to demonize the internet, and I'm not saying that everything that is on the internet is just evil and is of the devil. But I will say this: the devil is using the internet to destroy Generation Z and Generation A. He is using the internet and technology to corrupt their minds and destroy their lives and to make them unproductive in this world in which they are to be productive in. And I'll remind you what the Bible says, 1 Peter 5 and verse number 8. It says, "Be sober, be vigilant, because your adversary the devil, as a roaring lion, walketh about, seeking whom he may devour." And Satan is using the tool and the technology of the internet to devour our children. And not just our children, he's using it to devour adults as well. But I really want to focus on this. We're losing the next generation because parents are not either aware of the dangers of the internet, or they're aware of it and they're not protecting their children. Let me just share with you a couple of the dangers. Besides that of wasting time and becoming lazy, and those are dangers in and of themselves, but there are even greater dangers that will destroy our children quicker than laziness. Number one, pornography. Pornography is so easy to access on the internet. And the viewing of pornography will radically shape and change a child's attitude and beliefs regarding sexuality. And you say, well, what's the big deal about that? I mean, this is something that is in the world. This is something that they need to know about. But I'll tell you, there is a great danger, especially when young people are exposed to graphic images, pornographic images. It will corrupt and it will taint their mind. And we can talk about this sexual revolution that has gone on that really began in the 50s and the 60s. And many people say, well, it liberated people and it helped us get out of this little box we're in. But if you really study it, I'll tell you, the sexual revolution that took place has damaged culture. And it is destroying generation after generation. And when children are exposed to this pornographic filth and this pornographic evil that is being portrayed, it will change their attitudes about sexual behavior. And research has shown this, and we've dealt with this in previous programs, that they will become more careless, they will become more risky in their behavior. And many times what will happen is that children, when they view this, they'll start out in engaging in the same behavior that they're watching online. And without going into any great detail there, if you know anything about pornography, first of all, it does not show what is realistic and what is real. It portrays something that will corrupt the mind. And many of our children are mimicking the behaviors that they're watching online. And that will destroy their mind and it will destroy their body. In fact, here's some statistics just to try to wake you up to the reality of this danger. 1 in 8 web searches done by children, teenagers and all the way down, 1 in 8 is done for pornographic material. 79% of children are exposed and taught sex from what they see online. 79% are being educated not by a wise parent that is showing them the right way, not by the Bible that is teaching them restraint, but by viewing things that are done in videos and on images on the internet. It is no wonder that our children have a tainted, corrupt, perverse view on sexuality. Because I'll tell you this, God did not create intimacy or sexual intimacy for anybody. He created it for men and women who entered into the bounds and bond of marriage. But that's not what's being promoted on the internet. Here's another danger that's very close to that. It's a term that is called sexting. I don't know if you've heard of this, but it is very prevalent amongst young people today. And what sexting is the sending or the receiving of nude or partially nude photos or images, videos. Now, I don't have to explain this any further. We know that when young people engage in that type of risky behavior, a lot of things can go wrong. It opens them up to so many dangers when they post or they receive images that are pornographic in nature. Now, it's not just of a stranger, it's of people that they know or of themselves. And you'd be surprised, especially how many of our teenagers are involved in this type of behavior. In fact, they've done research on this, and those that were willing to admit it, 20% of teenagers say that they have sent or they have posted nude or semi-nude images of themselves. Maybe you need to ask your teenagers if they're involved in this behavior, because quite a few are. Nearly 1 in 5 teenagers have shared pornographic images with somebody else by sending it on, forwarding it, emailing it. 1 in 5. This is a very dangerous behavior. We have another danger. And this is one that hits close to home. We hear it all the time, and that is bullying. It's often referred to on the internet as cyberbullying. See, bullying doesn't just happen in the schoolyard. It doesn't just happen in the neighborhood or amongst children as they're playing. It also happens in the digital world. Many hurtful words are typed. Many hurtful words are said. And this destroys and damages a child. When they feel like they're being bullied and when they feel like they are being pressured and all of these things are coming about that are causing our children to slip into depressed states instead of being strong and being able to focus on the things that they need to focus on. Again, you look at the research, 20% of teenagers say that their peers have been unkind to them through social networks. 24% of teenagers say that somebody has written lies and slanders and hateful things about them online. And we hear about this often, of the dangers of bullying. This is going on the internet. Here's another danger: sexual predators. Yes, there are those that are perverse and wicked and demented in their thinking. And we know that the internet is used as a way to meet new people, and we can connect with people around the world. And these sexual predators are out trying to befriend children. And predators by nature are master manipulators. And what they're trying to do is get our children to become dependent upon them. Sometimes children go to the internet and they're looking for friends. They're curious about things, and there are these predators that are waiting. And it's interesting, they'll come and say, well, yes, I'm a 16-year-old boy as well. I'll be your friend. And really, they're a 40-year-old man. So much deceit on the internet. Don't believe every profile. Don't believe every profile picture right up on there. And we know this is going on, and it is a huge problem around our world that these predators are using social media. They're using the internet in order to find victims that they can abuse. And here's a scary thing. 80% of children that have engaged with sexual predators online have gone and met them in person. And many of these children end up being abused by these people. And you'll hear this term that sexual predators groom children. And that's a term that is used in this world. They'll do it through flattery and sympathy and trying to invest time in them and giving them gifts. And they have very demented, perverse ideas. And then, of course, we could talk about social networks. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat, TikTok. All of these are very popular social chat sites. And I think parents need to be aware of these things, that they need to be aware of what their children are posting and what they're viewing. There are a lot of things on these social sites that are detrimental and destructive to the life of our children. Again, research shows that this is a big problem. 12% of teens say that they spend 3 hours a day on social network sites like Facebook, Instagram, and all the rest. What are they viewing? What are they seeing? What are they listening to? You say, well, how does a parent protect their child from the internet dangers? Well, let me give you a couple of things real quick. Number one, we need to talk to our children about the internet and how they're to use the internet. Yes, we need to have rules and we need to have boundaries. These are the things that you can view, and these are the things that you ought not to view. We need to expose them to that and remind them that there's a lot of good, but there's also a lot of evil. And I believe we need to set up safeguards, content filters, website blockers, child safety browsers. There's a great research you can go to. It's called FamilyShield.com. FamilyShield.com offers great protection on how to guard our children from pornographic, violent sites that are on the internet, or things that would corrupt their mind. We need to install those as parents. We also need to limit their time on the internet. A child doesn't need to have access to the internet 24/7. They don't need to have it at all times. Set up a time. This is the time that you can go on the internet. You can play your games. You can do your research. Restrict the involvement online. But then also engage them in offline activity. They don't always need to be online. See, we shouldn't fear the internet, nor should we demonize it, but we should use it wisely.